Hey, how's it going? It's me, Rebecca, the lazy bookworm. I hope everyone is doing well. I am doing well. It is seriously becoming winter here in the southern hemisphere. So I've been watching some videos of um, booktubers telling me about their summer reads. I kind of wish it was summer here. It's starting to get really cold and wet and grey, and that's why my last video I actually turned black because the sky literally went totally dark, even though it was only 3:30 in the afternoon. So that is quite freaky. But anywho, this video is going to be a bit different. It's going to be a bit more of a kind of chatty, reflective kind of video. This video is going to be a little bit about my own reading journey, I guess. I decided to do this because I've seen some videos from other booktubers talking about their favourite childhood books. And so that kind of sort of just got me thinking about what were my favourite childhood books, what were the ones that kind of I remember, and then that sort of kind of led me on to thinking about, my own reading journey throughout my life. I thought I'd also do this because it has been 1 month. Yes, it's been 1 month since I joined BookTube. I can't believe it's been a month. It's actually gone by so quickly. I feel in many ways like I'm still a BookTube newbie. I don't know when that feeling will end, but for me, I still feel very new to not just BookTube, but also just to doing videos in general. I have done a little bit of video editing work beforehand, but basically this is the first time I've really shot videos. And I'm really learning a lot about the whole process of shooting videos, but also video editing, creating thumbnails, just different things like that. So it's been a real learning curve for me, and I know that I still have like truckloads to learn. And yeah, so well, my reading journey really started when I was a baby, when I was a little kid. My mum and my nana, but particularly my mum, used to read to me a lot. I remember like the Spot books. I remember there was like this, I can't remember the title of the book, but this crazy kind of comic strip like book about Santa who takes a vacation, and just the different things that happened all around that. I think it was supposed to be that he took a vacation like at Christmas, so that created a whole lot of chaos because obviously you need Santa at Christmas. And I used to love being read to. I'd be one of these kids that would just be saying to my mum, please, one more page, or like one more chapter. When I kind of got to school, especially when I was like maybe about seven or eight, that's when I started to read really for myself. And by reading, I would actually say reading kind of like books, because ever since I was maybe about 3, I used to love reading picture books, like Spot the Dog, Cliff of the Big Red Dog, stuff like that. But from about, I'd say 7 or 8, I really started reading actual books. And as I've said many times on this channel, one of the first authors that really got me into reading was Roald Dahl. and especially books like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and The Witches. I remember reading The Witches. I actually wouldn't mind reading The Witches again, actually, because I remember when I was a kid, I was scared. I was scared, and I was so scared of that little boy. And yeah, and so we really, it wasn't just me, it was like all my classmates, we really devoured Roald Dahl, because also we had a teacher when I was about like eight and nine, that really encouraged us to read books like from Roald Dahl. Another series of books he read, I don't know if they actually still publish them, is the Choose Your Own Adventure books. Um, they were like a series of books where they would have a plot, like a very basic plot, like say someone goes into a haunted house and you read it, and then it gets up to like page 12 and you have to choose like what direction they take. So say someone goes into a haunted house and then finds this mysterious room, you have to choose, like, do they explore the room further or do they go back to, like, say the living room or something. um and so you just keep making these choices and eventually it leads to a sort of conclusion, and I remember like loving these books when I was about 12, like when I really into high school. I just didn't read at all. People talk about a reading slump. This was a major reading slump. I didn't probably read from about 12 to like maybe about 17. Yeah, 12 to 17, about 5 years. I only read what I had to read for English class. That was it. I think some of it was a little bit the books we had to read for English class. I don't know what the case is in other countries, but like each year we get a selection of books that we have to sort of read and kind of analyze and things like that for English class in high school. And we don't get to choose the books are chosen for us. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm sorry. When I had to read, like, say, Shakespeare, I was like, no, not into it. Didn't understand the language. No idea. No idea whatsoever. I thought all the books that were chosen for my English class were boring, basically. I was like, if this is what kind of books are, then no thanks. What changed? There's a couple of things that made me change. Now, there was a couple of things that kind of changed my attitude to literature, and so it kind of got me a little bit out of this reading slump. And one of the first things was, and I think I mentioned this in another video, is my mum recommending me George Orwell. I think we'd seen a documentary about George Orwell. I'm not quite sure, but I'd heard about Animal Farm in 1984, and my mum really recommended that I read Animal Farm. And so I did, and I really liked it. And later on, I read 1984, and it's just kind of like made me realize that yes, okay, the books I have to read for English are boring, but there's a whole other, um, there's a whole range of books that I can read outside of English class that aren't boring. And also, I was really intrigued by how Orwell kind of dealt with sort of political and societal themes in the two novels. So I was really interested in that. And yeah, it's one of the things that helped me get out of my reading slump. Another thing that helped me was I basically started watching adaptations of books. So I watched things like Harry Potter movies, and I also watched things like the Fight Club movie that was, I think it was released in was it the early 2000s or the late 1990s? I watched that, and I also watched Train Spotting, which, me and my friends all thought was really like kind of adult and edgy and cool and all that sort of stuff. And so when I realized that those were books, I thought, oh, okay, I'll read the book, and so that kind of further kind of got me out of my reading slump. And then I kind of just, thanks to the internet, I was able to find other books that were like, um, the books I've read and I liked. Like, so for example, I read Trainspotting, so I read other books from the writer. I think his name is Irvin Welsh. Um, it was sort of that time that I discovered American Psycho, which I talked about, which I read. And I also read books by like the British author Alex Garland, who wrote The Beach, which was turned into a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. And so, again, all of that kind of helped me get out of my reading slump. I By this time I was sort of like in my 20s, and I wouldn't say I was a big reader, but I was a reader. I'd read like maybe a couple of books a month, all that sort of stuff. And then I had, in my sort of late 20s, another bit of a reading slump. That was in my late 20s, I will say. That was when I traveled a lot. I went overseas. Recently, I've started to read a lot more, and I really started to get into, I'll say, the classics. I When I was in my early 20s, I would read some classics, but they usually were from like the 20th century. So I read Jack Kerouac's On the Road. I read Ian Forster's A Passage to India, things like that. But I never would read like pre-20th century. Early 20th century was like the furthest I would go. And there was no way in hell I was going to touch Victorian literature with a barge pole. I did not want to read Victorian literature because, I've seen adaptations, particularly of Dickens, and I just thought Victorian literature was long and depressing. Recently, I've still got into Victorian literature. That's actually a lot to do because of BookTube, because I started watching channels like Emmy, Caroline Marie Reed, and particular Katie at Books and Things. And particularly Katie, she's like so enthusiastic about Victorian literature. It kind of got me kind of enthusiastic as well. And so lately I've been starting to read more and more Victorian literature. Guess it is a very short summary of my reading journey. I guess I would say, if I had to have two takeaways from my reading journey, is that you will have reading slumps. Some of them may be short, like literally a few days or even a day. Some may be, like in my case, 5 years. Um, and I think that's completely normal. It's completely normal just to, for whatever reason, just not really feel like reading. Can take away is, you might not be at a place now where you want to read Charles Dickens, and that's fine. That's cool. But so keep an open mind that maybe in the future you might want to read him. You might be more open to reading him in the future, like in the future. So yeah, that would be my second takeaway. So far, it's been great. A month on BookTube. I just hope I continue to grow, not just in terms of viewership and subscribers, which, by the way, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. I would very much appreciate it. Shameless plug, I know. But I want to grow not just in terms of like viewership and subscribers, but also I want to grow as a content creator, as a person that can make and edit videos and can just put up really good content. And also I hope that being on BookTube will also help in my own reading journey. I will see you later.